Sports Trader pregame show. We're just about 30 minutes away from the start of Denver and Minnesota. Chris Miles here alongside 12-year NBA veteran Rex Chapman and a guy who spent almost 20 years coaching on the sidelines in the NBA and 15 more in college, Stan Van Gundy. I got to make sure people understand that about your resume, that you coached in college before the league as well.
Well, the only problem with that is you're making me sound old. Because that's 35 years. And unless I started at like 5, then I'm old. So I think we could just leave that part
Basically
out.
my entire life. That's what
There you go, yes.
They say it's lonely at the top, but in the Western Conference, it sure looks pretty crowded. The Denver Nuggets sitting up there for the second straight year in second place, trying to chase down the Lakers with 5 other teams within 5 games of them. Here is head coach Mike Malone of those Denver Nuggets about keeping his team deep, even though they traded away some talent.
The challenge right now is great to have a healthy complement and roster of players, but you can only play so many guys. And that's the big question right now. Do you try to utilize the quality depth that we have, or do you say with 26 to go, we're going to really pare this rotation down? My fear with that is by the time we get to the playoffs, we're going to be on empty. And I don't want to just get to the playoffs this year. We want to make a deep run, as deep a run as possible.
Okay, let's take a closer look at the 2nd through 4th seeds out west. The Nuggets have the hardest remaining schedule of those teams, the Clippers and the Jazz. However, the Nuggets currently hold a series advantage over both of those teams. The Jazz have one of the best home records in the league and have the most home games left on their schedule of these teams with 16 remaining. So that's, of course, a significant advantage. With that being said, Stan, how do you foresee this playing out with those teams fighting for that spot out west?
Well, it's going to be a big fight, and obviously that second seed means a lot, Rex, because now you can be home for 2 rounds in the playoffs. And as good as all of these teams are, being at home in the playoffs, having that home court advantage as many rounds as you can is a big deal.
Rex, you heard Mike Malone say, look, I'm trying to get this together, figure out who's playing in the postseason. And that's one of the reasons we didn't see Michael Porter Jr. for a while. Because, look, I got veterans on this team. I got guys who led us here last year. As a player, when you're trying to have your role defined this late in the season, how critical is that for team chemistry?
I think it's critical. You know, Mike wants to keep guys happy right now as well. They're feeling good about themselves. This is a deep team, even though they've traded guys away. You know, you look at around the league. I think we talked about this a little bit last night. Denver is one of 2 teams, I think, in the whole league, them and the Philadelphia 76ers, who could flame out in the first round or make a deep run late into the playoffs in their conference. So I think they're trying to do things a little bit differently this year. They don't want to have an early exit. Michael Malone is trying to be built for the long haul this year.
And getting healthy, a big part of that. Mason Plumlee back in the lineup, Michael Porter back in the lineup. You see Paul Millsap also in the lineup. All of those guys who are dealing with injuries around the All-Star break. Nikola Jokic came into the season a bit overweight, and his production, Rex, was on the lighter side. He's dropped a reported 25 pounds, and his production has gone up. Rex, you made an observation. What will happen if this trend continues?
Well, at some point, won't he? He'll be averaging like 55 but weigh 100 pounds. Right?
Weight Watchers Jokic style.
At some point, you just go at him defensively. He won't be able to guard his position at all, right?
I mean, he looks like a different person from the start of the I mean this, Stan.
No, he does look like a different person.
Before the report came out, I was like, wait, Jokic looks different. Doesn't he just look like the same guy?
No, he doesn't. Obviously, you know, he didn't come back in the greatest of shape. He's now gotten in great shape over the course of the season. And where he's really been different to me is he's been more aggressive offensively, trying to score the ball. Early in the year, he was content to just pass the ball. Now I think he understands they need him offensively to be that focal point.
And we've been saying, you know, for a couple of years, wait till he gets in shape. I mean, just look at him. He didn't have a muscle on him forever. He still doesn't really. He's kind of skinny fat still, but he's putting in work, man. He's doing work.
Saying, if you don't know the reference there, I was given that nickname when I played, Skinny Fats. That was one of my nicknames.
See, I was just fat. I was just regular fat.
Nikola Jokic and I, we're kindred spirits. That's what's happening there. Okay, looking at the Timberwolves, so we're not going to see Karl Anthony Towns and Nikola Jokic on the court together, which that always sucks because we know how great of a player Towns is. He's out with that wrist injury. D'Angelo Russell also out tonight with a knee injury, but he's played 2 games for the Timberwolves, 22 points, shooting the 3, averaging almost 10 assists. But Stan, is he a better fit next to Towns than Wiggins was as far as how their games complement each other?
Well, I think so, because he can run the pick and roll. You can actually put them together as a combination, which he and Wiggins really weren't. They didn't play together in 2-man action. So I think that'll be a great combination offensively. The question with those 2 guys is, are they going to defend? Neither one of them have been very good defensively. The Timberwolves have been a lot better as a team on the defensive end when Towns has been out. Russell's never been known as a good defender. Will those guys guard enough for the Timberwolves to become a good team?
What, are you just against guys defending from Kentucky? D'Angelo's from Louisville.
Yeah.
Carl went to Kentucky.
Yeah,
there might
Buckeye.
there might be a. I mean,
I know I'm an outlier.
well, you're an outlier. You were a perennial defensive player of the year candidate, but
Stop
not
picking on my
everybody
guys.
from Kentucky. Not everybody's a great. But I mean, you got Anthony Davis. He's a
Thank you.
defensive player of the year guy. So no, I don't think it's Kentucky's fault.
all right.
I just don't think Carl Anthony Towns defends very well.
Fair.
Hey, got to give Anthony Davis a little credit. 2 blocks tonight so far. So looking at the Timberwolves, and we're trying to figure out, okay, no Russell, no Towns, who's going to score? How about some former Nuggets? Juancho, Hernan Gomez, and also Malik Beasley. Beasley averaging 23 and 6 in his 4 games with Minnesota. Stan, what does this tell you about the emergence of these 2 guys in Minnesota, particularly about their time in Denver? Because they weren't doing that there.
No, what it tells you is the depth that Denver has. These are 2 very good players who couldn't even get into the regular rotation in Denver because they are so deep, and now they're taking advantage of the opportunity on a much lesser Minnesota team.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this game. You know how it is when you come back and play your old teammates. Everybody's out looking for a little bit of revenge. It'll be fun to watch. This guy's really good. Right, Stan, he couldn't get off the bench out there, but he runs the floor. Kind of reminds me of, remember Omri Caspi a little bit?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Well, guys, we have an update fried with Giannis, by the way. 2nd in post-touch field goal percentage, only behind Giannis, the reigning MVP, leading the team with the best record in the league. Stan, these initial results from Zion seem like stats you would encounter from a dominant center back in the day. Right now, you're getting a point forward. I guess that's the position Zion is playing. How is he having this impact so fast in his first 11 games when it seems like he was just trying to get in shape in the first 4 or 5 games?
Yeah, and I don't even think he is fully back and in shape, and he's still doing this. He's played both power forward and center. Probably had his best minutes when he's at center, but what he's been, no play being run for him. He's not holding the ball and pounding it. I wish they had a stat and I could know how many seconds with the ball he averages for bucket, because it's got to be less than anybody else in the league, which makes him fun to play with if you're the other guys, because they're not dumping it to him and all standing around. He's just moving on his own, getting the ball and finishing.
And that's a coach's dream, isn't it, Stan? I mean, you taught us, hey, be decisive. Catch the ball, turn, face up, and go. Don't hold it. Don't be a ball holder. That's what he does. Also, I got tired last year of hearing guys talk about, where's the skill? All I see is the power. No, he's got skill. Also, he's got a terrific basketball mind. You saw him slip a pick for a lob. You saw him spin out for another lob. He's got all the tricks and all that. Right now, he's up against a young mind. He's got a young mind, and that's good for the rest of the league. It's bad once he figures everything out, though.
Certainly be interesting to see what happens with the Pelicans. They are currently 4 games out of that final playoff spot. Does Zion have enough in the tank to help the Pelicans get that spot? Well, the Warriors, they've closed the door on Klay Thompson returning this season. The 3-time champion tore his ACL in the finals last June and could make his return for Team USA this summer. That's still up in the air. What you're about to see here is footage via Anthony Slater of Steph Curry knocking down some shots at practice this week. Steph, who broke his hand on October 30th, is expected to return this season. Well, Steph says he plans on playing March 1st. That's a week from today. The Warriors plan to issue a statement in a week as well, in less than a week, on February 28th, to announce a return date for the three-time champion and two-time MVP. Well, Golden State is closer to landing the top pick in the draft than they are in making the playoffs. Here's Steve Kerr and Steph Curry on Curry's possible return.
Now we got this brand new team, and these young guys have never played with Steph. We need the final quarter of the season to build that continuity and that chemistry in order to go into next year's training camp with some familiarity. He's perfectly healthy. He's in the prime of his career. If the point is because he might get hurt, then what's the point of ever playing anybody? I mean, people can get hurt any day, and I guess the argument would be, well, we're not going to the playoffs. So are we not trying to entertain our fans? Are we not? We're selling tickets to all these people who love basketball. And Steph Curry is one of the most amazing, graceful, exciting basketball players on earth. And if he were healthy and we didn't present him to our fans and say, here you go, here's your gift for staying with us for this whole season, what would that say about us? That we don't care about our fans? So to me, it's never been a question. As soon as he's ready, he's coming back. Our fans deserve it. We need it as a team to as I said, to springboard into next year, and it's the right thing to do.
Injuries happen. You understand how long I was going to be out, and the team trying to just be competitive and again build the right habits in that process. We are where we are right now, and we know what's ahead. So it's been a long year. It's been tough for a lot of different reasons, but we've had a hell of a run, and we know we have a lot more in the tank. So at the end of the day, this is gonna be good for me to get back out there and just try to help bring some positivity, some energy, some joy to what we do. Finish the year strong, and we'll be trying to go back to the drawing board in the summer.
Well, this season, the game, the league has not been the same since Steph Curry went out on October 30th. Rex, you understand that it's his non-shooting hand. You have some insight on why it's taken so long for Steph to get back. Can you explain what he's dealing with right now?
Yeah, he has metal in his hand. His left hand got a pretty significant knot on top of it. I saw him out in the Bay Area last week. They're not taking this year off, as you heard Steve Kerr say there, which, by the way, I wanted to stand up and give a standing ovation for those comments. We're trying to entertain our fans. When Steph's ready, he's going to play, and that's what Steve said. But that's what Stephen said too. He wants to get back a good 4 to 6 weeks, get in here with his teammates. Still trying to bring Andrew Wiggins along. Stephen and Clay are at practice every single day with these guys. They go through shoot-arounds with them. They're trying to teach. They're really using these last couple of months to try to bring Andrew Wiggins along. And when Steph's ready, he's ready. Also, I know he wants to get in there, get back so he can start swinging that golf club pretty soon.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that as well. So, Stan, you loved what Steve Kerr was saying.
Yeah, listen, talking about the fans is what I loved. I mean, I think sometimes we miss that whole point. We don't have a league without the fans. Everybody, we're all making money. All us sitting here, we're all making money because of the fans. We have a responsibility to them, and Steve Kerr was talking about that. Then on top of that, if you're a basketball player, if you're a competitor, why do you want to sit out if you're healthy? We've got to show the fans not only good players, but that those good players want to play. I think it's great. I think anybody criticizing them for playing Steph Curry doesn't get it. Steve Kerr does. And we need more people like Steve Kerr in the game.
Well, it seems like in his short time so far in Golden State, Andrew Wiggins gets it. I mean, this guy was a top pick in the draft. He's still 24 years old. Defensively, what is he already bringing to the table for the Warriors?
I think he's showing that he can guard the best players in the league. I was talking to Steve Kerr when I was out there. We like it. He's 24 years old. we hope that he can come in here. He doesn't have to be a 1 or 2 scorer now. He can be the 3rd or 4th guy. We just want him to be that rim runner, that guy in transition, and defender.
Playing the passing lanes, I mean, he did that to perfection in those plays, Stan.
No question. And now when Klay Thompson comes back, they've got 2 long wing guys.
Yeah.
And look, D'Angelo Russell's a good player. I think Steve Kerr made it pretty plain. They liked D'Angelo Russell, but Andrew Wiggins was a better fit positionally for them. In a league where you need as many of those 6'6" to 6'8" guys as you can get, they didn't want 2 point guards. They wanted another long wing guy. I think it's a trade that's going to work for both teams.
Well, LeBron James, the last time we checked in on a